C'est quel groupe? Georgia?
Non, non, Alabama.
Alabama. Quelle famille?
Région?
La famille Régent?
Si. Bonjour. Bonjour. Ah mais bah, tu dis bonjour?
Ah d'accord. Bonjour. D'accord. Très bien.
Oui, alors on y va.
Oui.
Tu as fait bon voyage? Ah oui, oui, bon voyage. Merci, merci. C'est bon. Voilà. Je vais te donner les clés. Bah, vas-y, pose-toi. Ok. Et puis, tu veux boire quelque chose? Ah, boire? Oui, boire.
My host was amazing. When we got in the car, she was like, "How's your French?" And I was like, "I mean, I know a little, but it's bad." And she was like, "Well, I don't know any English." And I was like, "Oh my God." And she lived alone in this like really small apartment. But she was into like feng shui and yoga and contemporary dance and organic cooking. So we got along really well.
I lived with Nicole. I do not know how to say her last name, unfortunately, because she let me call her by her first name. Nicole let me invite friends to go places with us and have dinner. She did not speak English at all, which is kind of hard for me. The first thing I did was apologize in French that I couldn't speak French. So
she hated me. You know, when I first get there, you know, she goes, you know, "I don't want my kids to feel disadvantaged, so we don't speak any English in this house." The first thing she said is, "You know, I'm not your mother. I want you to come and go as you please, do what you want." And, you know, I don't know if her idea of that and the American idea of that are different, but, you know, like 2 weeks left in the trip, she came to me and she was like, "All the time you were going out and gone, you know, stay home with my family and get to know them."
But the mom was my favorite. She worked her hardest to make me feel at home. She just made me feel really welcome. Aww. I loved her and wish that I had talked to her more.
She made me feel like an idiot all the time. She kept the TV on, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, during our dinner time. And so I would just watch it and try to answer the questions, and then she would like try to talk to me, and I didn't realize it. Of course, she's speaking in French, so, and she can't say my name. So I look at her finally, and she's just like, "Oh, she never listens, she's never going to learn to speak French because she doesn't listen to me." And I'm like, "I was watching TV, you have the TV on while we're eating dinner, who does that?"
We're very similar in a lot of our likes and dislikes, and she was bohemian, I guess, a little bit reckless, but fun at the same time. She allowed me to come in whenever I wanted, and really understood that, you know, wanted me to have a good time there, and not just make me do what she wanted me to do.
It was France's Mother's Day, the day that we arrived, and my family left town, and they sent their kid, well, not their kid, they sent another transient student, I don't know, like, to come pick me up. They had another kid staying with them, another student staying in their house, which was kind of awkward because I was already in their house, and then they come home. It was awesome. They ended up being so cool. Better than my family here.
My host family's house was kind of weird because she lived in a school, and so we weren't allowed to like have people over or anything like that, and it was just kind of bizarre because you'd come downstairs and go to class and all the little kids were like going to preschool, and you're like, "Hey."
I could not into words like say how much like I loved living with my host family. Every part about it, I was so nervous about that. Like, I was so incredibly nervous. You know, then she had Laura, and then so it was me and Laura and Chantal, and then her daughter Anne-Laure. Dana, another girl from Michigan, came the week after I was there, And so it was like 5 of us, and like we would just all sit around and like talk and like laugh, and like we had the best time. Like it was so much fun.
She had a flat, like an apartment, and 2 grandchildren who stayed with us, and their names were Anatole was a little boy, he was 6, and Colleen was a little girl, she was 9. And they were precious. I loved them. Like I think my experience would have been totally different if they weren't there. Like I remember this one time, I was doing my homework and I came across a word I didn't know. And I remember it was berceau. So I was like, Anatole, what's a berceau? He was like, it's the thing, and he went over, I had like this kind of long wooden coffee table in my room. He was like, it's the thing that you put the baby on. I was like, I don't really understand. And he was like, and then he laid down on the floor and started rocking like this. And he was like, it's the thing you put the baby in to sleep. And I was like, oh, it's a crib or a cradle. He was like, yeah.
She seemed so sweet, and the first thing she said to me was like in French, and she was like, I'm not saying a lick of French or English when like while you're staying with me, so you're gonna have to start like becoming fluent. Because I was like, hey, how are you?
The woman that I lived with, it was just one woman, and I wasn't really sure because my French wasn't really good at that point. I think she was a podiatrist or a retired podiatrist, and she was more like a landlady, because that's the only things I saw her doing were washing our clothes and cooking. When I got there, I found out there was a Saudi Arabian student who was down the hall from me, and then later there were 2 more students that were at a different university, and after that there were 2 more students that came that had a problem with their earlier house arrangements. They were from Wake Forest, so there were 7 students, and then the one mother there, and all but one of the students were from America. They told me when I came that I was going to stay with a real French family. Not the case at all. I stayed with Americans the whole time.
My host family was great. They didn't impose any rules on me necessarily, except if I wasn't going to be at dinner to let them know well enough beforehand, and which was that's understandable.
This is where we go to school. Today is the day we find out where we placed on our placement test. Find out what class we're taking.
Like, I thought I was gonna be put in the lowest class, because that placement test, like, they probably thought I was like, there was something wrong with me.
The placement test was difficult, at least in my eyes, I felt.
I don't remember that much about it, except that it was really hard.
Maggie sat next to me on the placement test, and I remember always like glancing over, seeing like how fast she was working, and I just remember looking over, and hers took up the entire space. She kept erasing and revising it, and then I looked at mine, and I had like maybe four sentences maybe.
It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and but I got the fact that they were just trying to see what level we were going to be in.
It's currently the 27th of May. It's our first full day of actual French classes today. I got placed in the 2nd level, which I don't mind being in the 2nd level. Most of the guys placed just a level above that anyway, so there's only a couple of students that placed above 3. I like my teacher. She saw my ID with a tie. It's like, ooh. She said something about having class, something about it being classy, a classy picture, and it's a pretty classy picture if I do say so myself, But I'm a classy guy, and I don't know how to be anything but classy. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I scream class. I don't even have to put on clothes to look classy. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I'm probably gonna go to bed soon, so au revoir.